What is up, nerds? My name is Jeremy Akers, Jeremy Nathaniel Akers, and I want to talk to you about my favorite liberating structure, simple ethnography. Now, simple ethnography. What problem does simple ethnography help us to solve? That's a doozy. Simple ethnography helps us to lean into this principle around practicing deep respect for people and local solutions. It helps us to lean into this meme around when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So it gives us a procedure that invites us into this ethnographic stance that is focused on witnessing, observation, and less on interpretation of those observation, right? Much more what. Less so what. We get to some so whats and now whats, but stay in the what. That's going to help us look at things in a much different fashion and realize some novelty. Simple ethnography helps take advantage of this computational bureaucracy that we often have, where there's a gap between what's happening in reality and what's happening on terms of documentation. So it's helping us to catch up with that. It's going to help us do that by really focusing on this aspect of liberating structures, this design system around artifacts. And what do I mean when I say it does that through artifacts? And that is that it uses, most importantly, the set of design elements or instructions for how materials and space are organized to help create ourselves an artifact. And the creating of that artifact is what's going to help us to guide the conversation. So whereas you might see some of the other artifacty liberating structures like panarchy drawing together, or panarchy and ecocycle or star or something like that, it's much less about using the map or using the artifact, and much more the act of creating it, bringing it into being. You get some feels for some vibes around interaction, and the way that this, although this structure foregrounds the artifact aspect, it certainly is not shy about giving us some nudges, helpful pushes in the direction of interaction. This move of witnessing, as you can tell, completely changes. It's a very artificial context that we're sort of creating, and that changes interactions dramatically. But we can also lean into the inquiry. I think this is small, but we get a feel that simple ethnography is pushing us in a direction. It's not neutral. It's not just neutrally giving us this artifact. It's not just neutrally giving us this this way of interacting. It's not just giving us no question. It's giving us a very particular question, which is, what is happening in this particular place? I've probably rambled about this long enough. Hopefully you guys get it. All right, so again, simple ethnography. We are going to use this for process mindfulness. And the reason we're going to do that is because what we're hoping to accomplish is to help our group, our organization, our company, our department, our team to sense itself. It's a critical capability of being able to intervene and do things differently, to develop and change with intention. And why are we going to use simple ethnography? Because in Dutch we say vreemde ogen dwingen. It's that strange eyes sort of nudge. They urge us. They compel us in interesting directions. So just by observing, we are exercising a form of influence. And once more, practice deep respect for people and local solutions. So a simple ethnography's got a pretty big time window. Here, I think you'll need about 90 minutes. You could probably squeeze it down to 75. But you could easily take days doing this stuff, spread out in a much more semi-synchronous fashion that I think we might imagine when we think about liberating structures. Very often we think about these distinct games. You play or you use a liberating structure and then you get out of it. But I think we can see, well, you'll see. All right, first thing we're going to do, set the stage. We're going to let everybody know about our context and the problem or predicament space that we want to be addressed. What is the problem to be solved, and what do we understand about that? What's the current state of the art of our thinking? Drop it like it's hot. Get the information out there. Don't take too long about it. And then you gather with the group to identify the sites that you and the people that you want to shadow that are going to reveal the user experience, especially in depth. Where are the places that we want to go with this ethnographic tour? We're going to play some Jane Goodall. Remember, humans are hominids and primates, so there's a strong tradition of observing humans, of observing primates in order to understand them. So once we have the places identified, then we want to get on with our Gemba. I would say, how do you want to squad up? However, right? Allow nerds to swarm. If you want to be super organized, 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, 4 person squads everywhere, make yourself happy. But go and see, right? Go to the place and observe without speaking. Try not to get in the way. Try not to tell. Try not to ask even too many questions, but just really go and see. Look at the interactions, look at the activities, look what people do, and record the details and reflections as you go. So you're obviously going to need some materials, right? You're going to need some notebooks, cameras, video. You'll want to set up consent, right, for these site visits. Especially if you're going to record folks, get consent in advance. But even if you're just, going to show up in this super weird way, let folks know. Give them some safe porting that, hey, this is what we're happening. Is it cool for you to do if we do that, right? After you've done the initial sort of observation, then, do your sense making on top of that with your observational groups, right? Invite them at the place to, identify the most interesting behaviors that address your problem space, either in part or whole, right? You might see a beautiful, fully formed solution, but chances are you're going to see a diamond in the rough. You might see the very top of that wrench, in the sand that is the exact one you're looking for, but you'll only see a black speck of it, right? So look for these interesting behaviors that address the problem space in part or the whole, and interview the people that are involved about, especially what they were doing, but especially about how they were feeling. The how they were feeling element is going to reveal the motivations and the reasons that they made certain movements, and that's going to help us to understand what's they're sort of responding to, what their sensory apparatus is telling them is going wrong, and it's also going to help us understand what's motivating them into particular types of behavior, right? So after we have interviewed those nerds, we want to reconvene our ethnographers, right? We've all sort of spread out and gone our different places. We want to bring nerds back together, and we want to compare notes across different contexts and places. We want to look for the patterns across those observations, and, of course, elevate those exceptional solutions. Somebody found something super interesting, so let's celebrate that. Use your 1, 2 for all. Don't take all day about it, but get that stuff together. Then you want to bookmark some more time to write up these observations, compose your stories, highlight these new needs and opportunities, right? A lot of the time we do the workshop-y thing, we get everybody's input, and we then gather it together. And we're all sort of so exhausted at that point that we don't take this additional step to add the value that the artifacts sort of require. So take your field stories, write them up into, tidbits, and then figure out a way to get them out there, right? I apologize for how sort of hand-wavy this feels. Feed the insights forward into other efforts. All right. The point, though, behind simple ethnography is that it's the particular of place. It's the specifics that matter. The things that we can generalize, okay, that makes it similar to all these other things, but it's actually the differences that are our most crucial levers in moving things forward, because it's the specific levers that we have here at our disposal. So it would be pretty ironic, right, if while talking about the specific levers, we said, all right, and here's exactly how you push and pull and send that information out into your wider stakeholder context, engaging in asynchronous communication. It's got to be hand wavy because it's about the particular. And here I am, from the comfort of my dining table, 0 dark 30, and I don't know the specifics of your context. Nobody does, but you do. So figure out how to feed those insights forward into other efforts. Who would be inspired by this information? Who would be surprised, interested, curious? For whom is it relevant? When? So figure out a way to open up your filing cabinet and spread the information out there, to radiate the information. Like I said, this is simple ethnography. It'll take you minimally 90 minutes. It'll probably be better off if you think about this over a full day experience, frankly. Or, hell, go nuts, go weeks. But for that, you're going to need way more fidelity than just this min-spec liberating structure, right? You're going to need to really go, see, and do. My name's Jeremy Nathaniel Akers. Thanks so much for your time, attention, and energy. This has been Simple Ethnography, and go and see. And do, of course. Duh.